ReleaseWire helps businesses connect with interested journalists and bloggers. Check out the link in the description to save 25% on your first press release.
Admiral, radar shows that we have liberals approaching at 3 o'clock, and libertarians at 9 o'clock, and conservatives at 6 o'clock. They're coming from every angle, every viewpoint. Oh, it's Political Radar with your hosts, Rhonda and Elliot.
Hey, all you political junkies. Welcome to Political Radar, the best 30 minutes of unscripted, uncensored political talk you will hear and obviously see all day because we're doing video.
Yeah, it's going to be really scary.
Hello, everyone.
Boo! So we picked the first one to do video with this guy.
Progressive educator Ned Dorff.
Sounded like you said regressive.
Progressive.
Well, I mean, what's the difference?
Regressive.
Let's get into that right now.
Thanks for coming on, Ned.
Thanks for having me.
You're our debut video victim,
Yeah.
guest. What do
Possible.
you want to call you?
Well, we'll see if I have a job in a few weeks, I guess.
Yeah, you should have seen the look of terror when we mentioned we might do video when somebody that you are very close to was on. She's like, "You're kidding, right?"
Yeah.
There was panic in the eyes.
I didn't do my makeup either, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm not powdered, and I rode my bike.
You look beautiful. You have a glow about you.
I do have a glow because I rode my bike from the east side.
And you rode your bike here, and you have this really interesting shirt on. I think you should talk about that.
I do. This is a Bernie Sanders shirt, and it is in the style of my favorite band logo, that band being Earth Crisis. It's a vegan straight edge band that I've been listening to for a long time.
What is a vegan straight edge band?
Well, I'm glad that we it took a long time for us to get into what does it mean to be vegan. So I'm glad that we got onto that right away. A vegan straight edge band, vegans eat don't hit the table, I'm sorry. Vegans eat only plant-based diets. And straight edge people don't do any drugs or alcohol or usually refrain from promiscuous.
So the music must be really bad.
The music is awful, and most people hate it, which makes it very interesting that there was actually a shirt like this. I feel like I was one of probably 10 people who fit the demographic to buy this T-shirt. Yeah, so it's got like a little patch on it that says Victory 2016. It's got Bernie's face on it. Earth Crisis was on a record label called Victory Records, so there's like a little tie there. And then on the back, it's got a lyric from one of their most famous songs called Firestorm, which is about killing drug dealers. But
that doesn't sound very straight edge.
It doesn't sound very Bernie either. Let's talk about Bernie. So Bernie, rest in peace, Bernie. Right? I mean, where are we at? Where are you at with this right now?
Bernie.
Yeah.
I think unlike a lot of people in the Bernie movement, I've been following Bernie for a good 15, 16 years and really have respected the man for a long time. I have letters back from him when I would write to Congress in college, like year 2000, 2001. I would get stuff back from like Mark Green, local people, but then I'd always get this one guy from Vermont, a letter back from him, and I'd be like, whoa, who is this guy? I agree with this guy. There's like one guy in Congress I agree with. And I'm really excited that his campaign went as far as it did and that he was able to have a place at the table to set the platform for the Democratic National Convention.
What do you agree with that Bernie's like what in his platform or even before that?
Yeah, even before that. I mean, Bernie was far ahead of the Democratic Party on LGBT rights. He was far ahead on universal health care, far ahead on fair trade. Back year 2000, 2001, I remember being in the streets quite a bit protesting Clinton's policies, NAFTA, WTO.
Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm. So I was never a huge fan of that side of the Democratic Party. And Bernie, at that time, he was an independent anyway, but as he's become more accepted by the Democratic Party, the party has definitely shifted into more of his ideals. So
what do you say to these people who are, they put a lot of time, energy, effort, angst, they really have committed and they're very loyal to Bernie Sanders. And now, obviously, he's not the candidate. So they are either going to sit this out or they're going to write in, seems like they're going to write in Jill Stein. So, there's a lot of conversation happening online about that and what people should be doing and where they should be, focusing on.
Well, they don't have to
right
write
now.
her in. She'll be on the ballot.
Well, but they are saying they're going to write her in. I'm just talking about what I'm reading.
All right.
So what do you feel about that?
I feel...
Because that is my point, though. They're not even really truly aware of what the dynamics are not necessarily set for Bernie, but they're, Jill. Jill is the person they want to vote for. How do you feel about that?
I don't know that people are holding Jill to as high of a standard as they would have held her had she run on the Democratic ticket. I really don't. I don't have a problem with Jill Stein. I just think that people might be looking for a quick alternative since Bernie didn't make it. And for me, I fully support Bernie's message. And for me, it's never, ever about the cult of personality. I don't believe in voting for a person. I believe in voting for ideas. And if somebody's going to carry forth ideas, and that's what I think, has happened in the Democratic National Convention. Hillary's kind of put herself out on the table saying, I'm going to take these ideas forward. So to me, I'm not going to, and that's what scares me about the Republican candidate, is that it's all about his personality, and it's not anymore so much about what is the Republican platform this year. It's not about what are the big ideas coming from that side of the aisle.
And there's a ton of Republicans who are not adhering to that. And so they're actually bowing out. And I think President Obama just asked yesterday that he wants Republicans to denounce that platform and what he's saying.
Yeah, that can't possibly backfire.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people are worried, like, he was already digging his own grave. Obama didn't need to jump in and help or hurt, as the case may be. Yeah. But I really think, hey, there's plenty of time between now and November for that candidate to make outrageous statements, insult families of troops who have died, and
mothers with babies.
It's amazing. It's not just something new every day. It's several things now every day, and I have, I'd say, several Republican neighbors on my block that are just disgusted with the way things have turned.
But they're disgusted with his personality.
Absolutely.
So, but to your point, though, I mean, that doesn't bother you so much.
His personality?
He is.
All he is personality, though.
Yeah, wow.
There's not much to vote for there.
Okay.
The wall, he wants to build a wall. Remember?
Yes. He does have that.
Don't forget that.
He does have that idea.
No, so when you say he doesn't have ideas, it's because he has the same ideas Hillary has. They're the same. Like, their differences are very, very minor.
Okay, that's a statement. Let's hear the example of how they're similar. Let's
unpack that for us.
Okay,
Yes.
well, the wall isn't going to happen. That's hyperbole. So you can discount things like that because that doesn't matter. That isn't going to happen, at least not in the fashion that he's talking about. So, if you take out the ridiculous things that both of them say, and then you look at the things that are actually important, they're the same.
And what
They're
are
the
those
same.
things, Elliot?
Well, his daughter went on and said that we need to have universal child care.
I loved it.
Okay. He is in favor of LGBT rights.
So he says.
Although he wants to appoint a Supreme Court justice.
But that's all we got. That's all we have really from either of them.
How are you in favor of that if you want to appoint
I didn't say I'm in favor of anything.
No,
I just said they're the same.
How is saying he supports LGBT rights, how is that possible when he wants to appoint a Supreme Court justice who actually is going to take all that down?
So the Supreme Court thing is BS. Okay, so your point, voting for someone because of their personality, this is even like another step removed from that. Now we're voting for people based on the personality of the person they might appoint that then must also be approved.
No,
by
it's
Congress.
the ideas of what this person's going to do and what they're standing for.
And you know what? That quite often backfires. So like predicting that, we have this, good, healthy, conservative person, he's the one that's going to uphold Obamacare. Like you don't have that sort of crystal ball to just look into the future. So the whole Supreme Court thing, and believe me,
it's huge. I think it's a huge.
You know what? I can't do a good Trump impression, so I won't even try.
Well, neither can Tim Kaine, but that didn't stop him.
I didn't see that yet. I heard it was. I heard it was good though.
That was uproarious.
So
Yeah.
what else?
Well,
Where else?
let's bring it back to personality though.
Yeah.
Let's say that. Let's say that the Ned from 10 minutes ago was crazy, and that personality does.
Yeah, let's say that.
Let's say that. Personality does have some effect on setting a tone for what happens in the country. And let's take the example of the back of my shirt. Shooting drug dealers, all right? Like it's this song that gets people riled up. And you go and you sing along and you get riled up and you feel all tough, but then you go home and you don't really go out and get a gun and shoot drug dealers, right? But let's look at what's happening in the Philippines right now. Their president, who is not a dictator, he's not a dictator, he doesn't have ultimate power, but he is setting a tone in that country for that exact thing. He's saying, here's my list of people that are drug dealers. And we're going to make it so that these people will not go down in a peaceful manner. These people will be killed in a violent manner. There have been hundreds of people put on this list by the president of the Philippines, setting that tone. And there have been many, many people now that have been shot. And not just people that probably were really drug dealers, but probably a lot of people that were just political opponents of the president. So I think that's an extreme example, but I think that personality sets a tone.
And that personality actually has set a tone in the candidate as Trump. Trump has set that tone with Muslims and Hispanics. Now, Hillary has not. So that is not something they're similar. There's no similarity to that at all.
In tone, right. So, but again, they're only voting for the personality, like on either side. They're saying Trump and not Trump. Like, honestly. Like,
that's not even very smart for him, because if you are a person who supports Muslims and supports Hispanic culture and what they bring to our country, then you are not going to support what he's saying.
But most of the crazy things he says are things that they cannot happen and they will not happen.
Right, but think about this. There are children out there, Hispanic and Muslim children, who are hearing this. And this is what people are, they know this is happening. And that is not something that's going to help him get elected. I just don't believe that.
So we have very few leaders that I would want to put in front of my 12-year-old and say, you know what, you got to listen to this.
I'll put Hillary Clinton. I will put Hillary in front of my 10-year-old any day.
But she's okay mostly as of late because she understands that extra burden is on her. I don't.
And I would put Bernie in front of my 10-year-old.
Well, so I would put Bernie in. I would put Bernie in the same way that I would put somebody else in. I mean, any politician in, because there's certain things that I would want to explain then. I wouldn't want to. I would want to have drug policy explained. I would want to have an open discussion about who should pay for education and how. Mm-hmm. I know that we treat I treat my 12-year-old differently than other people do, I think, but I wouldn't want to just have it unfiltered. Hillary, it'd be okay to have him see her unfiltered because she's filtered.
Are kids asking you about them?
But she's very well handled.
That's all those words. That's what I was trying to say.
Are children asking you at all about the election?
Yes. Okay. The kids, I had in the spring, I had a really great math class at Aldo, and the kids wanted me to do like a poll. These are like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids that they were like requesting that we do a political poll before the primaries. I'm like, oh, these kids are really engaged. Wow. That's awesome. So we did. And I don't say, much as a teacher in front of kids. I don't say, well, I really think that Trump is this big scary guy that you guys should be really afraid of. And
are they saying it? Are you hearing that from them at all?
I allow, if a kid wants to have a conversation about politics with another kid or religion or anything controversial, I'm going to sit on the side and kind of try to be a moderator for that so that it doesn't get ugly. But I believe that those are critical conversations to have.
So you're actually having these conversations, or your kids are having these conversations in your classroom. At how old are they?
I worked with 5 through 8-year-olds.
And I think it's really important for people to always remember when their candidate is spouting off hate, that kids are seeing this. This is something, we always think about ourselves, but that's an important thing to recognize, that they're actually witnessing this. They're definitely privy to that.
They are. And I don't think enough people are engaged by the time they graduate high school.
So there's a fine line there, though. I remember when Obama got elected the first time, and everybody knew it was going to happen, but it was still a little bit of a shock when I went to pick up Max. He was in 4K at the time. He's 12 now, so like it blows my mind, right?
He was still a playetarian back then.
Good shout out. Awesome. So he came out and he's like, we voted for Barack Obama, thinking like I would be a very proud parent. And I didn't necessarily have anything against him. I didn't really like either of the candidates at the time, right?
You never do.
I usually don't. Very good. And I was a little bothered, though, because he was 4 years old. And I do want them to talk about things, but then voting and maybe they're representative of the whole population, right? But 4-year-olds don't have an idea as to why. They are only voting on personality.
They're usually voting based on who parents are talking about. I mean, that's who I was always in favor of when I was a kid, when I was an elementary school kid. But we didn't shy away from politics growing up, and I learned about Martin Luther King at a very young age when I was 6 in first grade. My teacher, Mrs. DeJarlis, who I just found online on Facebook, through the magic of the internet, really cued me into the civil rights movement. And I think ever since then, I've been turned on to politics and paid attention. And I think there are great ways for teachers to do that without inserting too much of themselves into the conversation. Because you don't want to, because you'll have kids in your room that want to just impress you. And you'll have kids in your room that'll feel bad if the authority figure in the room doesn't agree with their family's ideas. So I think it's really good to start conversations in the classroom. It's really good to allow the kids to express themselves. And as a progressive educator, when my students in the middle of my math class, they wanted to do the primary vote, it wasn't something I was going to do, kind of because speaks to your
because
point.
It's a math class for one thing.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Why aren't they doing it in social studies?
What is math? I mean, math can be cross-curricular.
Absolutely. But why? I guess why aren't they doing it in social studies class? Or are you thinking they are and they just...
I guess the way I teach, I don't try to put everything in a box. So math might be the core focus of that hour. But if there are football games or political discussions or migratory species, travels that have to do with math, and we can incorporate that and actually connect math to the world outside of the 4 classroom walls, then I'm going to try to jump on that when I can.
So this must be somewhat unprecedented, though, as far as who are the candidates? And yes, we're talking about who they are, but when it comes to what they're saying and what their ideas are, how do you even explain that to a 6-year-old, what Trump is saying? Because I want to know what he's about. So what is he? What would you even say? He thinks, honey, that you, being a girl, if you're sexually harassed at work, well, you just need to find another place to go. I mean, how do you relay that message?
I don't recall him saying that.
He just did.
He just did?
Probably like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, he just did.
You never know. I haven't had those discussions with the kids that specifically about the candidates.
Did they ask you though? So, what is it? What's he about? What's she about? Like, how much do they want to know? I'm curious. Like, how much detail do they want other than what they look like?
They want to know who I'm voting for.
Right.
Oh.
And I don't tell them.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And that's about as far as I get into discussing candidate policy or my preference or anything like that. I haven't found a great resource for really young kids. Like, for kind of older elementary, middle school age, CNN does a student news program, and they'll show candidates kind of in their own words. I haven't found anything that I really feel comfortable using with the students that I work with right now.
Will you make one with us?
Make a video with you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I would very much like to do that. For one thing, I'd like to actually explain the Electoral College. And I would like to explain local government.
You might need to explain the Electoral College to adults.
I would like it explained to
Oh,
me.
yeah. I'd like you to explain it to the Californians whose votes count for like 1/3 of what Wyoming votes count.
Right. Well, I mean, and actually,
How does that still happen?
Because we're a very purple state here, our votes count for way more than any of them.
Right.
And Pennsylvania even more so. Ohio
I'm running
even
for
more
the
so.
president of Ohio.
Yeah. And I mean, and that is the reality now. That terrifies me.
Of suburban Cleveland.
Right? They have it down to a county. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't know why they don't just like the game is over. The jig is up. Just say, everybody in this county, I am going to pay you cash money from the federal government. I feel like
you
it's
live in
gonna come to that.
Alexandria, Virginia.
Yeah.
I'm your man. Right. It's ridiculous.
Well, they kind of do that to some degree because they pour a lot of money into mailers and
Yeah, but
commercials.
that just helps the media.
Appearances.
Like the actual John and Jane on the street. They want to feel like they're being cared for too, not just the.
Well, they do,
the
but they do it in a mailer form.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think once you get past the city level or the county level, things get so generic and so awful. Have you guys seen the commercials for both candidates for the 8th district?
I worked on one of them.
Oh, well, it's shot very nicely, Rhonda.
Thank you.
The
Thank
visual,
you.
The production value is
the visuals
excellent.
are the best.
Yes.
You have the best visuals, but they have the worst words.
There are no words.
There are no words. It is generic pap. It is awful. I don't know why anyone would vote for either of these gentlemen based on their commercials. They're just horrible commercials.
Because
there's
he fought
nothing of
for
value.
you. He fought
There's
for
no
you.
substance.
Ned, he was a Marine. He fought for you.
And that's awesome. So was my dad. My dad was a Marine and he fought for us. But does that tell you anything about his political views?
No, and
No.
I'm kind of getting tired of that. I feel like that just feeds into this over militarization, if that's a word.
It is now.
Of our country. So we put military people in charge, and then we don't understand why we end up in foreign wars.
Because he actually just told you that if Congress doesn't pass the budget, he won't take a paycheck. He told you that.
And I mean, and those.
Which is impossible, by the way.
Well, it's not. You can give.
He
the
can
money
give
back.
it away.
Yeah.
He can give
so
it away.
I mean, and
He won't.
That's probably what he means.
but there's nothing wrong with that. That's laudable. Like that's a good thing.
But I mean, is he?
But like,
he
okay,
might, but let the rest of the
but
Congress
what sort of budget will you
get
pass?
paid.
Which things will you cut?
Well, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Cut the fat. Okay. What is the fat?
Yeah.
Please just give me one example.
Or just be honest and say, you know what? I actually would like your grandchildren to pay for me to have a fancy office and us to invade other countries. Just be honest about that.
But I don't even know if that's what he thinks because he doesn't actually say
That's
what
exactly
what his policies are. And that's what I think frustrates you and what traditionally has frustrated me about the two major parties. But by the
Are you going to send me a therapy bill?
by the same token, no. I see that we have 2 minutes, and I want to talk about third parties for the last.
That's a soft timer.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I
we
should
can
have
go
explained
over
that.
if you need to.
That's until intermission. Good. Third parties here, and you asked me about why don't people vote for Jill Stein? Well, if people want to vote for Jill Stein, they should vote for Jill Stein.
Yeah.
But if they want to vote for Bernie, or they believe in what Bernie says, or they trust what Bernie says, what Bernie has said lately is, hey, I helped write the platform, right? Vote for Hillary Clinton. If people want to vote for Gary Johnson, Elliot, they should vote for Gary Johnson if they agree
Well,
with it.
half of Republicans actually want to vote for him. They just don't know it.
Well, maybe. Maybe they do.
And the other half are going to vote for Hillary.
I mean, there are a lot of hypocrites in the Republican Party. I'm not going to lie. All the ones who smoke pot but don't want it to be legal.
Well, here's my proposal. Because I worked in Minnesota for 5 years to build the third party movement, and we elected Jesse Ventura, and we got the Green Party over 5% with the Ralph Nader vote, and then the Greens were a major party status in Minnesota. But then what happened? After that, after those two big ticket items, what happened? Nothing really happened. Nobody really ran for anything small, and the third party movements died out very quickly. R.T. Ryback ran, well, he was already mayor of Minneapolis, but he ran and won re-election again, but he supported Nader. So he was the one big name that came out of the third party movement in Minnesota.
But
That's what scares me about third party only cropping up every 4 years.
But you know what? I disagree with the principle of that. The Minnesota's doing great.
It is.
So
That's because they have a Democratic governor.
Let's look at
So-
why Minnesota's doing
Yeah.
great.
okay, but those are really short-term things. These things develop over many, many years. And there's a base of laws that weren't just passed in the last 4 years. So
There actually are a base of laws that were just passed in the past 4 years.
Yes.
Having lived
everything happened in the last 4 years, and there's nothing that happened before that. That's crazy.
All right, you two. You need a moderator in here. The last 4 years have been phenomenal in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because they've gotten things done for the middle class. That's what they've done. They've not taken huge tax cuts and sent the brakes up to the wealthiest people in their state, which is what's happened in Wisconsin. Okay,
Because they are actually taxing the wealthy.
My
in
family's been
Minnesota.
dinged because I'm a middle class public school teacher. Okay, every year I have this large amount of lost income from what I had before 2011. Okay, and that is the exact amount of income that I need to put away for my kids to go to college. All right, why do you think one of the big reasons I'm supporting Bernie or was supporting Bernie? Free public college? Yeah, I can get behind that because I can pay for that with my taxes. I'm already paying taxes. I don't mind paying taxes for things that I support. To go back to Minnesota, they've also done well because they've kind of subsumed those third-party movements
That's what I meant.
into the major parties.
And they also know that if we deviate and go too left wing to right wing, we're going to get our lunch eaten.
Yeah. But I think, coming back to the 4-year presidential thing, if we really want that third alternative, if we really want something that's going to make a big impact, I look at coalition building. Things like a green socialist party or a green socialist libertarian party, where we don't all agree on maybe 50% of the issues, but there's this core. There's this kind of Ron Paul meets Dennis Kucinich meets Bernie Sanders core of civil liberties that I think, wow, we could really push for a lot of freedom and liberty in this country.
Well, right.
If
We have a
work
long way
together.
to go for the two major parties to get to that point, for sure.
It's good. It's good to see that they've kind of borrowed ideas from the libertarian movement, from the green movement, from social, whatever. They really have. I think I wasn't happy to vote for a Democrat until about 2008 probably, when I saw universal health care being taken on by the Democratic Party. Because before that, obviously Hillary Clinton tried it in the early 90s and it just kind of crashed and burned. But before that, it was kind of a fringe issue. And in 2008, it finally became a major party issue.
And I think, speaking of parties, I know a lot of people are upset with the Democratic Party because of Bernie not being the nominee, but they don't remember that he was an independent and then he went to the Democrats to run. I mean, there's some sort of a sellout, no?
I think there are people that are upset that he, sold out?
Well, I mean, you don't like the Democrats. Well, the reality is he was an independent all his life. But he decided to be one because he knew that he couldn't run as an independent.
He couldn't run as far and as well as he did as an independent because there's not that structure in place for an independent to
It
run.
drives me crazy when I hear that. So the very people who say, well, you can never vote for a third party because they can never get enough votes are also the ones to just jump down the throats of anybody who infiltrates their party.
I think he actually could have done fine.
crazy
I mean, on his
talk.
ideas. It seems like that's all they care about. They're not really...
Well, I don't know if he'd have access. Here's one specific example of why he needed to jump on the party apparatus. The party has access to the voting. And when I ran, it was the Voter Action Network. I don't know if it's still called that or not, but the VAN. So it's the voting list, and it's like something that's built over years and years by the Democratic Party, or the Republicans have theirs, and it tells you who's for this, who's for that, who's a strong Dem, who's a strong Republican, like who can you appeal to. That's one big example of why.
You don't think he could have used social media? Because I feel like he was a social media king.
Oh, I feel like social
and then his
media plays a
supporters
part.
were doing a big, part
Social
to help
media
that.
plays a part, but it doesn't give you all that demographic info that's been built up over years, that specific information.
To send information to mail it, correct?
Right.
I don't understand.
To reach out to
So
those
do you
voters.
do you not agree that third parties are a wasted vote. I'm so.
Are you asking me that?
No, I'm asking Rhonda.
Oh, okay.
I think you agree with me.
I don't think any vote is a wasted vote.
I don't either, and it makes me insane when I hear this. Like it's sort of like it's like abortion and birth control. Like you can't be against both. You can't be against people.
Can you redefine what I'm against? I'm not sure what you're saying.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. Like, if you're bothered that someone who's not a real Democrat got into the party, and then
I'm not bothered by it. I'm talking about his supporters should be more bothered by that versus they're upset with the Democrats, but he wasn't a Democrat. I'm not bothered by it.
I think I know what you're saying. I think you're saying like his supporters are turned off by him. I don't know what you're saying.
What I'm saying is they're
saying?
upset with the Democrats. They're upset.
Well played, Ned.
No.
I'm not going to mansplain, all right? I just caught myself mansplaining. I'm just going to stop
I'm going to
myself.
explain it if you'll let me.
Well, I need to have something mansplained.
I'm going to explain it to you.
Well, maybe I need
mansplain it to you.
Please womansplain this.
I will.
In small words with short
When you stop
syllabic
talking, I can
structure.
totally
And
explain
maybe
it.
some grunts and some interruptions, please.
I'll be quiet.
Thank you. His supporters are upset with the Democratic Party. He became a Democrat to run. Why? I mean, they don't even think about that. He could have just, I don't believe that. I think he could have run as an independent. I think the people that are getting mail are older. I don't think they're Bernie people. I think the people that were going to vote for Bernie were people that were following his message on television, online, on social media. I think he could have run as an independent. I would have respected him more if he would have run as an independent.
He wouldn't have been in debates. He wouldn't have.
Why wouldn't he have been in debates?
Who would he have been debating?
Was Ralph Nader in the debates in 2000?
Why couldn't they have done
No,
something?
he was not because he was shut out by the DNC.
No, but I mean, he wouldn't have been in the primary debates. I mean, there were primary debates. He was on stage with Hillary Clinton.
This was a.
That might have actually been better for him.
It was it was a political calculation. He
Right.
knew he wouldn't get the FaceTime and he wouldn't get the message out as wide as he could have. And what he was running for was president of the United States. He was trying to get his message to as many people as he could.
So really, the people that are upset with the Democratic Party is where I'm going with it.
They need to take a chill pill.
They should be actually happy.
Well, I mean, it is a
it.
corrupt organization. Let's be realistic.
It is, but it was kind of a symbiotic relationship. I mean,
Yeah.
Bernie needed the
Yes.
Democratic Party.
Which is why he got in line.
Yeah.
And so his supporters who are so upset should be happy with the Democratic Party, not upset with them.
I don't know if you should be happy with the
I think they should be happy with Bernie.
I think I do think they should be happy with Bernie, but I think they should understand. They should be a little maybe more pragmatic about it. Like, okay, we love Bernie. He's not like just this little folk musician we just want to see in our coffee shop and not on a big stage, right? Like he's gonna need to.
He should be at our coffee shop.
He should be though, and he's actually playing at Kavarna next Friday.
I'll be in the front row.
You need to understand how is this gigantic machine going to work? If you're running a presidential campaign and you expect to be in the debates and you expect to get on the national stage and you want to be on all the national broadcast channels and on PBS and you want your name out there on the cable news channels, you're going to have to
Wouldn't
tap
a
into the
real
machine.
revolution have included not having to do that?
Of course, but
It will.
It,
It will, because if the real revolution actually happens, it's going to happen at the local level. It's going to happen where people say, hey, I really liked what Bernie had to say, or I really like what Gary Johnson has to say,
Right.
or I really like what Jill Stein has to say, and people aren't saying that right now in my community. So I'm going to run for office, and I'm going to talk about
Yes, I agree with you on that.
So can I be your campaign manager?
Fine. Yeah, we can build our coalition, right?
Any last words before you rest in peace?
Well, I hope I did my mom proud because she did a really good interview with you guys, and
She had the exact same T-shirt on.
she supported Bernie. I'm gonna out her right now and tell you she supported Bernie. My last words would be: support your public schools and go vegan. Peace.
Can I
Okay,
can I-
before
one-
we go.
I want to have one really. I gotta say this because I want people to remember this. Russ Feingold
Last
has
word, Rhonda.
Russ Feingold has a primary. Not a lot of people realize this. There is a Republican posing as a Democrat that's running against him, and so August 9th, you have to come out. Don't say anything. August 9th, you have to come out and vote for Russ
You've been
Feingold.
told.
That's all I want to say because I think it's very important that people remember that.
I think he'll be fine.
You never know. You never know. A lot of people didn't realize that there is a need
Which
to
is
vote
why
on
he'll be
August
fine.
9th.
But that's a good call out.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you don't stop. I think you guys should interview the Green Bay skateboard cop. Did you like that rhyme I just threw out? Have you interviewed him yet?
No,
No, you should.
get him on.
I didn't know that he was still around.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a Bernie guy, too.
Well, in spite of that, we should have him on. All right. Before we go, we want to thank ReleaseWire for making this show possible. ReleaseWire is a powerful media engagement service connecting businesses to interested journalists and bloggers. ReleaseWire is an effective and affordable way to get the word out about your business. ReleaseWire is offering a special discount to Political Radar fans. Distribute your first demand press release with ReleaseWire and save 25%. Woohoo! Visit releasewire.com/politicalradar or click on the link in the description to learn more. That'll be somewhere down below my face right now, I think. ReleaseWire from release to results. Woohoo! I'm not one take Rhonda, but that's how it goes.
Sorry.
From release to results.
Yeah, and
That's how babies are made.
And you know what? I was reading it right off the paper, obviously, and I still almost screwed it up. That happens. So our show notes for this one, we're on episode number 27 already. This is bananas.
N-A-N-A-S.
And I have to use bananas because otherwise I get censored. Yeah. Politicalradar.com.
You used to be able to swear on your old radio show.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
No, he can swear, but bananas is better. It's more, I have to get ready for that education one we do.
For sure.
Yeah. You know what? One thing, if people want to find Ned, where can they find you online, Ned?
Oh, boy. I have a website called drugfreedad.com, and you can go there and read a bunch of interviews I've done with people.
Nice.
Or I'm on Facebook, or I take pictures of my bathroom floor on Instagram.
That's, yeah. How about, yeah. I think I said politicalradar.com/27 for show notes. You can follow me on Twitter at Elliot, and you can follow Rhonda
At Sitnicow on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay, and I was told we need to not cut off so abruptly, so goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Political Radar. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. To stay up to date, visit politicalradar.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.